Minute 1, blood pressure drops. Minute 10, brain releases BDNF. Minute 20, fat burning activates. Day 30, resting heart rate decreases by 5 to 10 beats. If you've ever wondered whether a 30-minute walk actually does anything measurable, here's the minute-by-minute timeline, the exact cellular changes, the hidden systems that activate, and why most people quit right before the transformation becomes visible. Most people think walking is too easy to matter, but within 60 seconds, your arteries produce nitric oxide, a molecule that prevents heart attacks. Your body doesn't need intensity, it needs consistency. Here's what's really happening inside you. The instant you step outside and begin moving, your body recognizes a shift. But something unexpected happens in that first minute. It determines whether you get heart protection or just burn calories. What triggers this difference? In the first 60 seconds, your heart rate rises, from resting, perhaps 60 or 70 beats per minute, to somewhere between 90 and 110 for most people. This signals your blood vessels to begin manufacturing nitric oxide. Think of it as a relaxation agent for your arteries. Your vessels expand, blood circulates more freely. Research shows this process starts within the first minute of movement. Within only 5 minutes, your blood pressure begins to decrease. But it's not only physical. The most significant change occurs in your nervous system, and it contradicts what you'd expect. You'd think movement activates your stress response, preparing you for danger. Studies show the opposite happens. You transition from sympathetic state to parasympathetic, from stress mode to calm mode. Walking signals your brain something critical. You aren't running from danger. You are navigating your surroundings. You are secure. Your body interprets steady, moderate movement as safety, not threat. Now that you understand the first minute, here's what happens as you settle into rhythm. You're 10 minutes in. You've found your pace. This is where the brain begins something neuroscientists didn't fully understand until recently. They discovered that movement duration matters, but not in the way most people think. What did they find? Most people consider the brain a stationary processor, but your brain is actually a movement-dependent organ. As your legs move rhythmically, your heart delivers 15% more blood directly to your prefrontal cortex. That's the executive center, the region responsible for decision-making and concentration. But there's a hidden element being released right now. It determines whether your brain ages or regenerates. BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Scientists call this fertilizer for the brain. BDNF helps your neurons repair themselves. It even forms new connections. Research shows BDNF levels begin increasing after 10 to 15 minutes of moderate movement. They continue rising throughout a 30-minute walk. This is why you get your best ideas while walking. You aren't just thinking, you're literally nourishing your brain cells. But here's what's interesting. Some people experience dramatic BDNF increases from walking. Others see modest effects. The difference comes down to factors scientists are still studying: genetics, baseline fitness, even gut health. If you've ever experienced mental fog, walking is the clearing mechanism. It removes metabolic debris, replaces it with fresh oxygenated fuel. Now that you know how your brain responds, here's what happens to your blood sugar. Let's discuss something that changes how diabetes is treated: your blood sugar. Every time you eat, your blood sugar elevates. To manage this, your body releases insulin. But in our modern world, our cells often become resistant to insulin. We call this insulin resistance. Doctors have known for decades that walking affects blood sugar, but the timing creates dramatically different results. When does walking work best? This is where most people miss the critical window. When you walk, your muscles accomplish something extraordinary. They activate glucose transporters. Think of these as microscopic vacuum systems. Even without additional insulin, your walking muscles extract sugar from your blood. They use it as energy. Studies comparing different walking times show something specific. Walks within 30 to 90 minutes after eating reduce blood sugar spikes by 15 to 30%. The strongest effect appears in that first 30 minutes. Walking later still helps, but the effect diminishes as insulin has already processed most of the sugar. This is why a 30-minute walk after eating is more powerful than many pharmaceuticals. You are literally purifying your blood with your legs. You've seen how walking affects your brain and blood sugar, but here's where the weight loss truth contradicts everything the fitness industry pushes. You'd think more intense exercise always means more fat loss. Research comparing different exercise intensities found something unexpected. It explains why walking often outperforms intense training for fat loss. When you perform high-intensity interval training, your body burns calories, but it also elevates cortisol, the stress hormone. Studies show chronically elevated cortisol promotes fat storage, particularly around the midsection. Your body interprets stress as a signal to conserve energy. Walking is different, it's low intensity, your cortisol remains low, your body stays in what researchers call the aerobic zone, roughly 50 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. But here's where it gets interesting. In this zone, your body burns a higher percentage of calories from fat rather than carbohydrates. However, high-intensity exercise burns more total calories in less time, even though less comes from fat. So which actually leads to more fat loss? Research shows both work, but walking has an advantage for most people. It's sustainable. You aren't forcing the weight off, you're encouraging it off. It's the difference between smashing a door down and simply turning the handle. Walking is the handle. If you're beginning to understand how these small processes accumulate, hit that like button. It signals the algorithm that science-based content matters. And if you're new here, subscribe. Every week we explore the why behind your body's most incredible functions. Now that you understand the metabolic benefits, here's what happens to your heart over time. Researchers discovered something unexpected about how your heart adapts to daily walking. Your heart is a muscle. Like any muscle, it responds to consistent use. But the adaptation happens in a way that determines whether you age with cardiovascular disease or maintain heart health into your 90s. What changes? As you establish walking as a daily practice, your heart experiences a measurable transformation. It becomes more efficient at pumping. It doesn't need to beat as frequently. Studies tracking regular walkers show something specific. Resting heart rate typically declines by 5 to 10 beats per minute, over 8 to 12 weeks of consistent walking, but it's also about the vascular system. Walking maintains your arteries flexible. Research shows arterial stiffness, measured by pulse wave velocity, improves with regular walking. Rigid arteries cause heart attacks. Flexible arteries lead to longevity. Large-scale research reveals something powerful. 150 minutes of walking per week reduces your risk of heart attack by approximately 30%. That's precisely 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Meta-analyses of multiple studies confirm this benefit remains consistent across different populations. But does consistency really matter that much? Can you walk 2 hours on weekends and skip weekdays? Studies comparing different patterns found an answer that surprised researchers. The data shows something clear. Spreading activity throughout the week provides significantly more cardiovascular benefit than the same total time concentrated into 1 or 2 days. Your body adapts to the signal of daily movement, not weekly totals. You've seen the heart benefits. But there's a hidden system almost everyone neglects. This determines whether toxins and waste products get cleared from your body efficiently or accumulate. Most people have never heard of this system. What is it? The lymphatic system. Think of this as your body's drainage system. It transports away cellular waste, toxins, bacteria. But here's the problem. The lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. Your heart pumps your blood, but nothing pumps your lymph except your muscles. When you walk, the calf pump in your legs functions as a secondary heart. It literally compresses waste fluid upward through your body to be filtered and eliminated. But research shows lymphatic flow requires sustained muscle contraction over time. If you don't move consistently, your drainage slows significantly. This is why you feel bloated after sitting all day. Studies using lymphatic imaging show that even short periods of movement restore flow, but prolonged sitting creates measurable backup in the system. Walking is how you cleanse your internal plumbing. Now that you understand the drainage system, here's the hidden factor most modern diseases share. From arthritis to heart disease and even depression, they share one common underlying factor that walking directly targets. Researchers have measured this factor dropping significantly within weeks of starting a walking routine. What is it? Chronic inflammation. Walking is a natural anti-inflammatory. Studies measuring inflammatory markers show something specific. Regular walking decreases pro-inflammatory cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-alpha in the blood. By moving regularly, you're telling your immune system to calm down. You're transitioning your body from constant alert to maintenance and repair. People often say, "I can't walk, my joints hurt." But for the vast majority, research shows the reason joints hurt is often because people don't walk enough. This seems paradoxical. How can movement both cause and cure joint pain? Cartilage, the cushioning in your joints, doesn't have a direct blood supply. Studies show it receives nutrients through a process called imbibition, compression and release. Every time you take a step, you compress nutrients into the cartilage. Without regular compression, cartilage degenerates. This leads to osteoarthritis. Furthermore, walking generates mechanical stress on your bones. Research on bone density shows something interesting about how bones respond to impact. Your body responds to weight-bearing activity by making bones denser and stronger through a process called bone remodeling. Studies comparing walkers to sedentary individuals show measurably higher bone mineral density in weight-bearing bones. Walking is one of the most accessible defenses against osteoporosis. The mechanical stress signals your bones to reinforce themselves. Decades of research confirm this. Adaptation happens regardless of age. You've seen all these individual benefits. But here's why walking accomplishes so much at once. Why does this one movement pattern affect your brain, your blood, your bones, your immunity, and your longevity all at once? The answer lies in evolutionary biology, because you were designed for it. For approximately 99% of human history, we walked between 4 and 10 miles daily. According to anthropological studies of hunter-gatherer societies, your DNA encodes expectations based on that movement pattern. We didn't exercise, we didn't do structured cardio, we walked to find food, to find water, and to find each other. When you sit motionless for hours, your biology gets confused. Gene expression studies show that prolonged sitting triggers changes associated with aging and disease risk. Your body interprets the absence of movement as a signal to conserve energy. It downregulates metabolic and repair processes. When you walk, you are finally speaking a language your genes understand. You're saying, "I am alive, I am healthy, and I am moving forward." Research shows that even short bouts of movement trigger beneficial changes in gene expression, related to metabolism, inflammation, and cellular repair. Now that you understand why walking is so powerful, here's what happens in the hours after you stop. The best part about your 30-minute walk isn't how you feel during the walk. It's what happens in the hours afterward. Effects most people never connect to their morning walk. Why do certain effects persist long after you've stopped moving? Because you've stabilized your insulin. Research shows you're less likely to experience afternoon energy crashes because you've reduced your cortisol. Studies on stress hormones show improved sleep latency and sleep quality on days with morning activity because you've elevated your BDNF. Cognitive testing shows enhanced focus and creativity in the hours following exercise. Walking isn't a task you check off your list. It's an investment that generates returns every hour of the day. Look, the world wants you to believe that health is complex. But research reveals a simpler pattern. Studies tracking behavior change show a specific timeline for when walking becomes automatic versus when people typically quit. What determines success or failure? This is where most people's understanding falls apart. You don't need to be an athlete. You don't need to be fit to begin. You just need to understand the adaptation curve. Research on habit formation shows it takes approximately 60 to 90 days for a behavior to become automatic for most people. If you walk 30 minutes today, you'll feel better. If you walk 30 minutes for a month, you'll look better. If you walk 30 minutes for a year, you'll be a completely different person. But studies on exercise adherence reveal something important. The first 2 weeks are the most critical. That's when dropout rates are highest, not because walking is hard, but because the benefits aren't yet visible. Your body is adapting beneath the surface, but the mirror doesn't reflect it yet. Research shows that people who successfully maintain walking habits focus on how they feel, not how they look. Energy levels improve first, sleep quality improves within days, mood stabilizes within weeks, visible changes take months. But internal changes begin immediately. So here's my challenge to you. Don't try to exercise, just go for a walk. Your heart will thank you, your brain will thank you, and your future self will be grateful you started today. Will you commit to just 30 minutes tomorrow? Write "I'm in" the comments if you're accepting the challenge. And if you want to discover how to combine this with the perfect morning routine, watch this next. Stay curious, stay moving.